Hello everyone! Today we're going to talk about the latest and greatest from Fujifilm, the Fujinon 50mm f1. I got my hands on this lens finally. It came out recently. This is an amazing lens. There's a lot to talk about here and we will do so right after the intro. Don't move. As a professional wedding photographer, when I heard about the 50mm f1, I got really excited, be it for its low light capabilities or simply for its amazing and stunning bokeh and the shallow depth of field. So first, let's get into specs. As a note here, I will be comparing this f1 to the 56 f1.2 because this is the closest lens that Fuji has to offer in terms of aperture and in terms of focal length. Obviously you have the 50mm f2, but f2 and f1, they're not close enough. And also in terms of the way they're built, the size, I prefer to compare these two lenses. Okay, so this lens here is 845 grams, so it's just under the kilo, versus the 56mm f1.2 that weighs 409 grams, which is roughly half the weight. In terms of size, it has a 77mm filter thread compared to 62mm for the 56 f1.2. And that tells you a lot about the size. This is not a huge deal if you come from a DSLR setup, wherein this is still very compact, but it is still a heavy lens. And if you consider the fact that you're gonna be only getting half a stop of light more than the 56 f1.2, that becomes something to consider. So this lens comes with a lens hood that is made of plastic, very similar to the 56mm lens hood, both plastic, same height. You can see the size of both these hoods, they fit inside one another. One cool thing that they did, an improvement that I noticed, is a minor detail, but when you put it on the lens, you will feel a click, and that will keep the lens hood in place. This is an improvement versus the 56, which was a little bit more fiddly, and you see at the end you don't have that click. It just sits there, and sometimes it happened that it came off when I was doing a photo shoot. In terms of straps, I use a desired leather strap. I did a video which you can check in the link up here. It's this one over there. It doesn't make a huge difference because the weight is going on your shoulders, so you're not going to feel that much a difference. However, if you're using a, I don't know, for example, a Peak Design strap or any other type of shoulder strap, you might feel a difference because the weight is double the 56mm. Okay, now we're talking. This lens has a quick and snappy autofocus, and this is very welcome. You can see here using an X-T3 for both the 50 and the 56mm lenses, how much snappier it is, and there is less breathing happening when focusing. Obviously I am using the touchscreen of the camera, which adds a little delay when you're pressing with your finger, but it already shows you a little bit the difference between the two lenses on focusing and the breathing. Now, is the fact of having a slower autofocus on the 56mm a deal breaker to me? No, it's not. I've never missed a shot during a wedding. I did have some troubles in low lights sometimes here and there to get the right focus, but it was never in a crucial moment. But even if I would miss a shot, I would always get another shot that would either compensate or be even better. So no, for me this is not a deal breaker to have a slower autofocus. The current price of this lens revolves around $1,500 US, which is about roughly double the price of the 56mm f1.2. So this lens here is the fastest lens of the Fuji lineup, with f1 as its maximum aperture, making it the best lens for low light photography. Thanks to the autofocus improvements in this lens and the low light capabilities of the X-T3 and X-T4, you will get great results, you will get very usable photos, and you will keep the ISO way lower. This lens does not have OIS, but if you need to stabilize your photos even more, you can always use an X-T4 which has IBIS. Yes, this lens is finally weather resistant. That means you can go into dusty or humid environments, and if you have the proper body with it, like the XT series for example, you should not have any problem with dust or humidity getting into your body or your lens. This is a huge deal if you're someone who likes to shoot in that type of environment. It is not my case, but we never know. Let's say you're in a wedding, it starts to rain and everything is more humid. You're sure that you're at least not going to have troubles with your sensor and or with your lens. So here are a few samples that I took the other day with my son in the forest using an X-T3 of this lens. You might be wondering what is the differences, if they're big or small, between the 50mm and the 56mm, be it in terms of focal length or simply in terms of depth of field. So here are a few shots that I took with my X-T3 on a tripod. I just swapped the lenses and I took the same shots of my Minolta from 66 using classic chrome. These are straight out of the camera photos, so you can see by yourself, unbiased, how the different apertures compare with the two lenses. Here you go. This is arguably the best lens in the Fuji lineup for portrait, purely talking about image quality, depth of field, and focusing speed. If you don't mind the extra weight and size, this lens will hands down handle all your needs. I think this is more of a professional, on location or in a studio type of lens for professional photo shoots, more than an outing type of lens. I mean, you can, but I would rather take the 56mm f1.2 that gives me just half a stop of light less than this one, and it's half the size, half the weight, and you can literally plop it on your camera. It's not front heavy, and to take a walk or to go to the park, this is way better, I think. If you already own a 56mm f1.2, I don't particularly see the needs to change to the 50 f1 unless that focal length difference makes an actual difference to you, or if you need that half stop of light more. If, on the other hand, you already own, let's say, a 50mm f2, or you don't have any portrait lens and you don't mind having that extra weight and size, I would suggest that you pull the trigger, because this lens really is a great lens. I have really enjoyed this new portrait lens from Fuji's 50mm f1. I think this is a lens that comes very close to an 85mm equivalent for full frame, and I think this is the perfect lens if you want to take professional portraits with a Fuji setup. It is really cool to see such an amazing improvement on the Fuji lineup, and for us portrait photographers, I think this is major, because having an f1 lens when you're shooting a wedding and you almost have no light in the room and you're only using ambient light, it is great to be able to open a little bit more and to have that A, shallow depth of field, which makes it very creative, and B, have that extra light which keeps the ISO not too high and that makes the images very usable. So let me know what you use to shoot portraits. Are you someone who uses a 56, someone who uses a 50, a 50 f2? What is your favorite lens for shooting portraits? Are you going to buy this lens? Do you own it already? What are your views? Let me know. I'm interested to know how you guys handle this new release, and what do you think about it? Like always, take care, keep shooting, and I see you in my next video. Cheers!